We are live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Vancity Beats, Eats, and More. My name is Kazi, and on the show today, I am so stoked to be joined by Chua AKA Changeling. We are live streaming right now from the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations, what is colonially known as Vancouver, BC, and what we like to call Vancity. I am really excited for this episode because I'm with one of my new, very colorful friends. Chloe, can you please introduce yourself to our community and let us know who you are and how you like to express yourself in the world?
Sure. My name's Chloe. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I am originally from Toronto, but moved to Vancouver about 8 years ago. And yeah, I've just been on a journey of art and self-expression ever since. My primary focus is textiles with costume design, upcycle clothing. I also like to make different installations and stuff like that. But I'm also a performance artist. I do circus arts and different types of like incorporating my costuming within my practice, and yeah, kind of all over the place.
Yes. Do you actually remember when we first met?
It was a few years ago at VMF probably, right?
Yes.
Was it the Circus Arts Showcase?
Maybe. For me, what I remember is at Winter Arts Fest 2023. I forgot what came right before you, but basically a DJ set came on after a thing that I had curated. And then I saw you in like such a beautiful costume, and you were doing the fan dancing. And I was like, wait, who is that? Like, did I hire that? Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe you were just someone who just like decided to go up on stage. But I was like, we're just gonna let it happen because you look dope and what you're doing is awesome. And then when you came off for a break, I came up to you in the change room trailer, and I was like, hey, what's your name? And then you were saying you were with Viva Arts.
Yeah, Viva Entertainment.
Yeah, Viva Entertainment. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it was like a beautiful surprise.
Yeah, that was such a fun time. I loved Winter Arts Fest and working there, doing bartending and performing. And yeah, it's just been a really great privilege to be able to perform in Vancouver and be a part of this community. So yeah, it's been really great.
Well, like you mentioned, you're originally from Toronto. Can you tell us a bit about your upbringing and how creativity and art became part of your life?
Yeah. So I actually grew up in the Philippines for the first 6 years of my life. My dad is Chinese-Filipino.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love this because I'm Filipino.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was born in Manila.
What?
Yeah.
My whole dad's family is in Manila.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And yeah, Phil Chai is a real thing. So, okay, go back. Your dad is Chinese-Filipino.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Philippines, in Manila, for the first 6 years of my life. And then I moved to Toronto, where I was actually born.
Okay.
Like my family had established roots there already.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was always like pretty artistic. I gravitated more towards like music and like dance and that kind of stuff. I always wanted to like learn how to make clothes, and I've always like loved fashion.
Yeah.
And like before, when I was younger, it was, you know, go to the mall and go buy a new outfit or, you know, fast fashion kind of stuff. But then as I got older, I started discovering thrifting.
Yes.
And there's so many good thrift stores in Toronto. Like I would just go and just be inspired by the different eras of the clothing. And I think that's one of the things that inspires me a lot, is like taking historical inspiration from different eras and trying to incorporate that. I really love like the 80s aesthetic.
Yes.
Like
Underrated.
the colors and like the designs and the styles. Like I'd say as like just daily wear, I'm like very 80s kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started just getting more interested in like self-expression through clothing. And then I actually studied geography in university.
Okay.
Super random. Had nothing to do with any of this. And then after university, I was kind of like, what am I going to do now? And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll like go teach English overseas somewhere. So then I got a teaching English certificate, and then I didn't end up doing that either.
Yeah.
So then I just moved out west because I'd visited here once before when I was like a teenager, and I just like fell in love with the landscape and just the whole vibe of Vancouver. Like I loved having like the convenience of this city, but also so close in proximity to nature, and like you have oceans and mountains, like
and
it's just like
beach,
it's everything. So I finally moved out to Vancouver. It'll be like 9 years in May, and I started going to festivals, and that's where I started.
Like Basco Shambhala?
Yeah, like my first festival is actually Pemberton Music Festival, which was like extremely chaotic.
Yeah.
And then that same summer I went to Shambhala, and I was just like so inspired by people's outfits and just like the culture. Like before that, I'd never been to a festival. Like it was just like this whole new world for me of like self-expression and like dancing and just joyful play.
And fantasy becoming a reality.
Yeah. And so I wanted to just like create more custom outfits for myself. And so I started learning how to sew, and then
self-taught.
Pretty much like I did a couple just beginner lessons with a sewing teacher when I was first starting out. And then, I didn't go to like school or formally train or anything. I'm pretty much self-taught, which has been hard, but it's been a really great journey. Basically just wanted to make costumes for myself, and now I make costumes for other people, and just trying to bring these visions in my head into reality.
So tell us where we are right now, and how long have you been here?
Right now we're in my studio. It's located near Commercial Drive in East Vancouver, and I've been in this spot for, it'll be 5 years, like in June, I think. So it's been a minute. It didn't always look like this. Before, I only had like half of the space. So it's nice because I got to expand, and I like renovated it and painted it pink. It's been really great here. It's called Portal Studios, and we have about 15 resident artists now. There's a whole space downstairs where there's even more people doing more amazing things.
Oh, it's so fun in here. Like the moment that we walked in, you're just like, and even going downstairs and seeing some of the other studio spaces of the other artists, it's like just a candy for my eyes, you know?
Yeah.
Of different, like just pops of color and so much going on, and just loving all the details. And I think that's like a big signature of your work too, and how you choose to create and express yourself. I also know that, you've been exploring like circus arts as well. Like what kinds of circus arts have you been exploring? And
so my primary focus is like multi-hooping. So got the hula hoops, and I got them going all over my body. I've been exploring different areas as well, like juggling, which is significantly harder. There's a pretty steep learning curve on juggling. I've been trying for a few years now.
I'm just on the two. Like, when you start with the two to just gain a rhythm. I could, every time I try to incorporate the third ball, I just like can't.
It's definitely like a journey, and you have to be like very committed to it, which is kind of hard for my ADHD brain, because I'm like an instant gratification type learner where
Like, if I don't get it now.
pretty much. So I can juggle 3 balls, learning on the club still, but we're getting there. I do fire spinning as well.
Cool.
So I have lots of different props that I fire spin with. That's more of like, I just do that for fun. Like, also, yeah, pretty much that.
Sick. And burlesque?
Burlesque is kind of like, I'm not fully into that world yet.
Yeah.
I've done a couple kind of burlesque type acts.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I want to get into more, especially with, you know, the costuming, and I love like the acts that you can come up with for burlesque. Like, I love the comedy and the stories that you can tell through it. So it's definitely something that's been on my radar, but hasn't fully formulated yet.
For anyone who doesn't know about, you know, the Vancouver circus community and our scene here, because that's actually one of the first scenes that I tapped into when I first moved back here. I did also a chapter in Toronto.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did a life chapter there for like maybe 7 years. I did university out there. And then when I moved back here to Vancouver is actually when I met Nancy, because she was doing the head volunteer coordinating for Vancouver Circus Fest, I want to say it was called, like back then. And I was like her assistant volunteer coordinator or something like this. And so that's how we first met. And at that time, there was that space that was on 2nd Avenue. Do you remember that? I don't. And there were a lot of, also there was like a really cool crossover with the street dance community at that time. They were hosting actual like battles and events that mixed circus artists with street dance artists.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a whole like era. And then
oh my
I
gosh.
think when that space closed down and the person who was running it and started the festival, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I forgot her name, but Nancy can tell me later, aka Lola Loops, shout outs. Yeah, that's kind of where that era ended, but at that time it was so cool to be introduced to a lot of what I knew as the circus community here. But yeah, I would love to hear from you, like what is the community like here?
Yeah, it's amazing. I love the circus community here. I mean, I was never part of the circus community in Toronto, so I don't have much to compare it to, but yeah, Nancy, I've been working with her a lot lately. We're working right now for Social Circus Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that provides circus workshops and opportunities for youth based in Vancouver.
Cool.
Yeah.
And teaching them different circus arts?
Yeah, so right now we're hosting a weekly circus workshop in the Squamish Nation, in like every Tuesday, working with the kids and the youth there. We got juggling, we have like tumbling, and sometimes even the big trampoline comes out. Yeah, so it's been really fun getting into the like more nonprofit side of circus. And just trying to make circus more accessible to the community, which has like been a systemic problem in the past. Like circus has a lot of barriers around it, especially with like training and like expenses. So yeah, I'm like wanting to make it a more accessible experience for people.
Where can people find out more about what's going on within the circus community?
It's kind of like we don't really have like a centralized like meeting hub yet. I think COVID impacted the community a lot in terms of just like it's still recovering, and a lot of the bigger like organizations and meetups that were happening before you know, kind of weren't happening anymore after COVID. So I think if you are trying to get into the circus scene in Vancouver, there are different meetups. I'm trying to think of like the the Instagrams or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what, like, I'll
That's
have to get
okay.
back to you on it.
Yeah,
But
we can post it later as well
Yeah.
on our IG and share with anyone who's interested on our Instagram. That would be cool.
yeah.
So jumping back to you talking about, you know, some of your inspirations for your designs that you make, like other than the 80s, are there any artists or places you visited or, you know, maybe shows or music that you draw inspiration from?
I think I draw a lot of inspiration from materials. So a lot, like all of these fabrics back here, these are all thrifted. And like I'll just go to like a thrift store or like a secondhand store and just like see what's there and kind of be inspired by like the different things that I find. I'm inspired a lot by nature and yeah.
That's cool. I can also imagine that like when you pick up a fabric, it has its own story that you're like, it's like, I wonder what is this story, and that you're giving it a new life. I love that in your bio you were sharing that like sustainability is such a big focus for you. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yeah. So originally, before I became Changeling Creative, which is like what my company is called now, I was Sugar Troll Designs, which was focused on sustainable fashion. So it was less so costume making and more like creating clothes from upcycled materials or reworking thrifted clothing and stuff like that. So it's always been a really important part of my core values to try and keep my artistic practice as sustainable as possible. Just knowing, you know, the fast fashion industry and the impacts of just material consumption and material production, just trying to use upcycled materials wherever I can it's been a challenge, but it's also been really rewarding because like sometimes you can just create the most unique things with stuff that can't just be bought at a store.
Yes. I am so curious about what's behind. Can we get into our show and tell portion?
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
So,
I think maybe could we start with these pieces and then we'll talk about what this is in a bit.
so this is one of the headpieces I made for a character, one of my roving characters, the Sugar Plum Fairy.
Yes.
So it's all like candy and fun, tasty. Don't actually eat it though. Just another headpiece I made for another character called Mona Chromatique. She's all black and white. She's like a clowny kind of. She has roller skates and.
Yes. I love this one.
This one.
This is giving me Princess Leia vibes.
Yeah, this one is like an ice princess headpiece that I made.
Look at the ears.
Yeah, it's got little masks on the side. This is actually one of like the very earlier pieces that I've made. So
Super cool.
It's interesting having all of my work out because I can see like the progression of like my earlier work to like this I made like a year and a half ago. So it's like that to like, oh, now I'm integrating like LEDs and like all this stuff.
Well,
So-
what I love about is like when we were coming up into the studio, just over here, you have the different portraits of your different characters that you've created. Like,
Yeah.
where does that come from?
So I was working for a while with a photographer, John Ashby, and he's super talented. And we were doing these like monthly photo shoot meetups where basically I just can decide any concept and design, and then we go and shoot, and he uses all his Photoshop magic and whatever to make literal like fairy tale dreamscapes.
Yeah, make the character come to life.
Yeah. So I have a lot of my like costuming is character based. So I like to like in my mind I'll like envision the character and their traits and, you know, all the different little things about them. Sometimes I even like to make a backstory for them, like a little fairy tale. So
What's your favorite one?
I loved, there's one called Princess Palm. So this is the headpiece
with the
for it.
palms. Oh my gosh, I love, look at these.
And I don't have it
So
here right
good,
now,
yeah.
but I made an entire pom-pom jacket, which took forever.
Yeah.
And so her backstory is kind of cute. It's kind of like Rapunzel-esque, where she's like stuck in a tower, and then
Yeah.
she has to like make all these pom-poms to basically like jump out of the tower and like land in the pom-poms, and it's like a pillow.
That is such a good backstory.
Yeah. There's another one too. These ones, there's actually two of these. They're called the Service Sisters, and they're a pair of sisters. They were just like living their life in the forest, and then an evil witch came and was like jealous of them and cursed them and turned them into these like deer characters.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's I take a lot of inspiration from like classic fairy tales, you know, like Grimm's Brothers and stuff like that. And
Remixing.
yeah, remixing them. This is another piece. This is one of my earliest pieces. It's called Funeral for an Albatross.
Yeah.
And that one was actually about the plastic pollution in the oceans. So I saw a photo on the internet of, it was like a baby albatross skeleton.
Albatross is a bird?
They're like the biggest seabird. Like their wingspans can be like 6 feet wide.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, they're really like majestic animals, but I saw a photo on the internet of a dead baby albatross skeleton,
gosh.
and its stomach was all
Full of plastic.
Yeah, full of plastic because it was getting fed by the parent because they didn't know that it wasn't food. So it's just like I was really inspired to just like recreate it, and then this is all plastic that I scavenged from Vancouver beaches, and I made like a mask as well as like the mother albatross.
On the live stream? Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I like to make my work, you know, a little bit more political. Like I like to talk about social issues that are happening, like environmental issues or like social justice issues. And I like to use my work to be able to connect with people about this type of stuff.
Yes, which is where art is so important
Yeah.
and so powerful. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I also love that you're doing a lot to express yourself in terms of your cultural heritage. And that was something that like was one of the first things I learned about you when we first met. And this past year, we were going to have Winter Arts Fest 2025. And this is kind of how this interview actually happened, because you submitted, and I was stoked to see your submission as to perform. And you had this piece that you submitted called Kai Fang. And it is this gorgeous piece. I would love for you to tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this piece is one of my favorite pieces that I've made so far, and it's made from upcycled Chinese silk. Like this was all a duvet cover before, believe it or not.
It's got the dragons,
Yeah, it's got
aka
dragons.
Year of the Dragon.
Yeah. And so what inspired me to make this was just that I've been trying to reconnect with my Chinese culture over these past few years. For those who don't know, I am multiracial. My dad is Chinese-Filipino and my mom is French-Canadian. And yeah, I've just been feeling like my whole life it was kind of like assimilate to North American culture, and like I always embraced my whiteness more than my Chinese identity, and I always felt, you know, kind of disconnected after moving from the Philippines, and you know, all of my Chinese families all the way across the world, and I'm just over here. And so I've always had this like feeling of disconnection within myself and a feeling of like incompleteness within my identity. And so one of the things that I've been trying to do for the past few years is to just heal that bridge and like accept myself in my duality as a multiracial person. I like am different and my experiences are different. And so I wanted to celebrate my Chinese heritage by creating a beautiful outfit that showcased traditional fabric styles, but also this piece is more than just about showcasing the style. It's about blooming into my wholeness in my identity. So it has a secret.
Are we going to reveal the secret?
Should I reveal the secret?
Yes.
I just need to pull
this is
it
what sold me
a little bit here. So Kai Feng, it means to bloom. And so I have an entire act that I've created with this piece. There's also another part of the outfit that is not shown here today, but in the finale of the act, I bloom into my beautiful self.
Can we see it? Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. It's so cool. How did you construct this and conceptualize even?
So
That's the part that I've been curious about this whole time.
I was inspired by, I've been seeing designs like this on Instagram of like other people making something similar. And I was like, oh my God, like I need to make that as soon as I saw it on Instagram. And I was like, oh my God, like that's the coolest design. And I love how it integrated the hoop as well, because as a hooper, I'm like, it's everything. Like it's like geometric, it's flowy. Like you can't see it right now because I can't, like when it spins around, it's just like, whoosh, and it's like, it looks like water, and it's just like, and I wanted to make it colorful too and vibrant. And so, yeah, it took a while to figure out like the math behind it. Basically, I kind of like deconstructed. There's these like Chinese lanterns that, or they're like paper lanterns, like, you know, the ones I'm talking about. And they're kind of like similar, but they're like a full globe with like those like geometric ones.
Can we lift it up and see it again? Yes. Yeah, because they make all these like diamonds, basically.
So basically, I like just researched how to make one of those and then use that like design to incorporate it into fabric.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a pretty crazy process, but
how long did it take you? Or like did you have multiple iterations or something?
I did one like test copy before I committed to my prized silk. But it took me about 2 or 3 weeks in total to like from start to finish pretty much.
That's fast.
Yeah, I feel like it just like once my brain starts going, I'm just like, it needs to get done, and I'm like
obsessed.
And then I get obsessed with it and hyper focused, and then it comes out. So yeah, this is like a very special piece to me, and I'm hoping that I can showcase this act more in the future. There is like a spoken word component to my act where I like, it's like an audio that I recorded with my friend, and it's about my kind of experiences as a multiracial person. And yeah, so it's like a whole experience to be able to.
I really hope you let me know when that's going to happen sometime. You know, Vancouver festivals out there, please book this act so that we can experience it, because I think it's such an important story to share, and it's uniquely yours, and it's told through such an incredible art form and expression.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was definitely pushing for this and trying to find the right platform, as you know, when we were talking about this happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there will definitely be more times that it will come out. I think now that it's out in the world. So, yeah.
So when you say, is your dad half Filipino and half Chinese, or is he Chinese born in the Philippines and raised in the Philippines?
He's Chinese born in the Philippines. So he's actually like third generation Filipino, I think, because both his parents are Chinese but born in the Philippines. And then I think his grandparents are the ones who immigrated from China. So his family's been in the Philippines for quite a while.
Why did they immigrate to the Philippines? Do you know?
He said it was because of just like the communism, like the government changeover, I think.
In China.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I actually did an interview with my dad in May just to like learn more about my family history and like my Chinese culture. And I actually learned that my ama, which is my grandma, who I never got to meet because she died before I was born, but she was actually a famous dressmaker in Manila.
Really?
And no one ever told me this before. That
oh my gosh.
My grandma, my ancestor, was doing what I was doing.
Yes.
And yeah, so I felt really, like, once I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I felt like a spiritual connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have memories of living there as a child?
Very faint.
Yeah.
It was like, I was pretty young still, so it's hard to remember what exactly it was like growing up there. Like I have like, you know, like little flashbacks in here. I've only been back once to visit since I left. I went back to visit when I was like 20 years old. And so it was like pretty crazy, like leaving as a 6-year-old and returning as an adult. And it's just, it was pretty wild, just like seeing how different the life is there. And like it also gave me really good perspective of the privileges that I got to have growing up in Canada and being also Canadian. So it really put a lot into perspective for me.
Oh yeah. I fully relate to that experience as well. And you know, it's so cool because last year, actually in January, 2024, I got to go to like Phil Chai town for the first time. And my friend, shout outs to Jody, aka Jodanand, he curates this building called the First United Building and on Escolta Street. And Escolta is known as being like that building was the first kind of like quote unquote department store. Like when, you know, you had things that were ready to wear. Prior to that, everyone was getting tailor-made stuff and you only had like a few trousers or a few jackets, right? And this was the era when like the experience of the department store and shopping and like things that were ready to wear started to happen. So I guess what is that, like the 50s, 40s, 20s? I don't know. But like somewhere there. And so yeah, that is like historic Filipino Chinese town and area. And now in that building, it is an artist building. So like the first level is it's a hub of different artisans, independent makers, a coffee shop.
Nice.
It was really cool to tour that and see that. And so this is what my friend Jody does. He like curates all the different people who are in that building. And then on the upper levels, there are different studio spaces. So we had gone into one that was like a shop where they made different sunglasses and glassware. There was like co-working spaces. And then like a cute rooftop that we got to check out. But yeah, it's cool because that was my first time really learning about the history of what he kept saying, Phil Chai, like Filipino Chinese that were here. And I was just like, that's so interesting because I know a lot of places have a Chinatown and like a whole Chinese population that has immigrated, but I didn't know that historical aspect about the Philippines up until last year. And that was really cool to learn. And it's even more cool to learn that that is actually where you were born, or like you were born.
I was born in Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Had lived there, and that your family is from there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'll have to go to that building next time I go back to the Philippines.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm really jealous of a bunch of my friends in the Filipino diaspora right now who are there, because February is the time to go. Not just like weather-wise and climate-wise, because it's like temperate and not too like rainy or like sweaty hot, but it's February is known as Filipino Arts Month, or Manila Arts Month.
Nice.
So I think last time I was there, the Biennale was happening. There also was a fringe, a Manila fringe.
Nice.
Which was cool because that was what brought me there the first time back in 2018. But yeah, like it also so happens to be like the time where most of my friends who are different artists from all over, like Canada and the US, they love to go there during that time. So right now on my Instagram feed, I'm just seeing my friends who are all like meeting up, going to events, going to parties, checking out shows. I'm like so jealous. But I would highly recommend, if you want to do like another trip back, like February would be the time.
Okay. Yeah. Duly noted.
Yes. / maybe we'll meet up there.
Yes. Yeah. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So can we look at this next thing here?
Sure.
Just keeps going. More to discover in Chloe's studio.
So this is Replay. So Replay is a costume that I created for my partner Jesse. It's actually a stilt costume. So he's like a 8-foot tall robot, like machine person when he's wearing it. So
we had a cute little chat downstairs where I was like, I think you're convincing me on the stilts, bruv. And I was just like, I never thought about trying them on, but it'll give me something I've never had before. AKA, you can relate. Yeah. Have you tried stilting before?
Yeah, I was like starting to get into it like last spring, but then my stilts broke and I haven't repaired them since.
Do you have to like just keep moving so you do you have to keep moving so that you don't fall over?
You kind of like have to keep like doing little steps. Yeah. Depending what kind of stilts you're using. There's like, if you use like the drywall stilts, which are good for like bigger costumes that are like, you know, heavier, those ones you can just stand like regular. But yeah, it's been really fun making stilting costumes because there's so much more to work with. Like this TV head is, I don't know if you can see it on there, but
whoa!
I like
broken CDs.
Broke all these CDs. It even has another face on the back.
Oh my gosh! How do you even like? Do you just like choose an area and then it just starts to build from there, or do you have like a concept before you start going in?
So initially the concept for this one,
floppy disk. Shout out to floppy disks.
Yeah, so initially the concept for this one was that I wanted to create a CD dress stilt costume with some sort of like machine robot vibe. Yeah. And then I was like a bit stumped on like what the headpiece was going to be. And then I saw this hollowed out TV that Jesse had downstairs. And I was like, oh my God, that's the head. Like that's going to be the thing. So then we started gathering like all these different little pieces of junk. We even went to like a scrap yard, like a metal scrap yard, and just found all these different wires and metal pieces and like computer bits, and then we just started piecing it all together, and this is what we came up with.
From there.
Yeah.
It's so detailed. Like I'm like, here's like a previous necklace piece.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like what is that? A light switch thing?
It's like a door like key thing, and has a phone too.
Oh my gosh. Hello.
Yeah, so Jesse actually wore this. He was performing at Base Coast last year and got to stilt around his Replay, and yeah, it's been really fun.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. this floppy disk, 1.44 megabytes. That's all that they could fit on.
Can't even put a photo on there.
No. Actually, though, I remember using these like back in elementary school for, you know, I just was obsessed with like putting the thing in and how it would click, and then you press the button to pop it back out. But like, it could literally fit two document files. That's it.
I know. They're such like very nostalgic. I feel
Very
like.
nostalgic.
Yeah. So yeah, this is replay, and yeah, got lots of trolls and stuff. That was my old logo. Used to be Sugar Troll. I need to get a new one.
What is the obsession with trolls? What's the story behind your relationship to trolls?
I just started getting obsessed with trolls, like maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Me and my friend would dress up as trolls, troll dolls at Shambhala.
Complete with the jewel belly button?
No. I forgot about the jewel button, but we'd like put our hair up. Like, I used to have really long hair, and it was like almost down to my butt. Yeah. And we'd put our hair up like trolls and just wear cute little outfits, and I don't know, people just started gifting me trolls because they're like, you like trolls? Yeah. Take all my trolls. And then they're like, I found this troll for you. Yeah. So then my troll collection just started getting bigger and bigger. And so when I was trying to think of like a company name, when I decided to start pursuing making costumes and clothing, I was like, something has to do with trolls. And then I was like, Sugar Trolls, because I guess I still love pastels, but like back in the day, it was like all pastel all the time. And so I was like, it has to be cute and it has to be like, you know, trolly. So.
Yeah. I also used to have a crazy collection of trolls, not by choice, but I think, you know, because my mom, she grew up not having a lot, you know, and so when we moved to Canada and I started like having toys, she was just obsessed with me keeping all the toys. And my dad had built in my room like all these shelves, and each shelf was dedicated, like one was all for Barbies, one was all stuffed animals, and there was one shelf that was dedicated to trolls. And like, do you remember that movie Toy Soldier?
I don't think I've seen it.
It's the movie where the toys come to life. Oh. And it would freak me out as a child. And after that, I started talking to my toys, being like, listen, we're good, right? Like, we're cool.
We're chill.
Like, yeah, we're chill. Like, if you come alive at night, don't come for my neck.
Yeah.
You know? But the trolls especially, they're like kind of freak me out, but kind of like were really cute. I couldn't figure out my relationship to them.
Yeah, it was like a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. But now that I'm even thinking about it, I'm like, what is the origin story of the trolls?
Trolls, I believe, originate in like Norway or like Scandinavian folklore.
Okay.
They are believed to like come out at night, like the original trolls, and they are kind of just like these kind of goofy like creatures. I'm trying to think. I know, like,
this is the stuff, like, cross the bridge, you have to... Is that a
like
troll
the
thing?
troll under the bridge. That's another thing. They're... A lot of the time, like, troll has, like, a negative connotation to it. Yeah. Like an internet troll or, like, whatever.
Right.
Like, it's always, like, seen as kind of, like, a negative thing.
Yeah, someone who's bugging you or, like, getting in your way or trying to stop you from living your life somehow.
Yeah, but I, like, kind of wanted to embrace just, like, the mischievous aspect of it, because I've always, you know, been a little makulit. I don't know if you're...
I know makulit! It means, like, you can't sit still.
It's, like, naughty or, like, just... But, yeah, so the troll, like, resonated with me so much, because I was always that, like, kind of kid, just, you know, kind of making mischief, and so I was like, Sugar Troll, then.
That's so cute. Could you speak more Filipino or Tagalog, or?
No, I actually, it's so sad, but I actually only speak English.
Yeah.
I guess that's just the byproduct of colonialism.
And growing up here.
Yeah, growing up in Canada, and so I don't speak it, but hopefully I want to go back to the Philippines and just like, I want to spend some like good time there as like an adult and spend time with my family there and learn the language that they speak is Fukien.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard about this.
So all my dad's family speaks Fukien. They also speak Tagalog too.
Yes.
Yeah,
because they're just like trilingual out there.
Yeah.
My parents speak their dialect from the island that they're from in Panay, so the Visayas area, but it's specific to their island, and they speak Tagalog and they speak English, and like when they're all together, they like flip between the three languages all the time.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Do you understand them?
Not Bisaya because it's not what I grew up hearing, but more Tagalog.
Yeah.
But you know, like also like you, having to grow up here from young, it's like they wanted to practice their English.
Yeah.
And so they were like, who better to practice our English with than our kids who are going to school where they're speaking English. So I didn't get to like really grow up with it in terms of speaking it.
Yeah.
But as I gotten older, I also relate to you in terms of like wanting to connect with my ancestry. Like I took a very significant trip to the motherland that really impacted me on a soul level and just felt so, well, actually it's funny because, you know, growing up here, I was being considered Canadian, Filipino-Canadian is how I identified. And then when I went to the Philippines, my relatives out there were like, no, you're not. You're Canadian Filipino. And that felt so isolating.
Yeah.
To like, oh, like growing up here this whole time, I felt like an immigrant because I am. And then I go back to where I was born and I don't quite feel like I fully belong here either.
Yeah.
And what was so cool about that festival, Manila Fringe, was it brought together all the Filipinos from the diaspora, like people who have a very interesting, you know, like story of, I was born in Dubai, but I grew up in Taiwan and blah, blah, blah. And we all met there and felt this sense of belonging with each other as Filipinos of the diaspora, you know? And that was the first time I really felt like, oh, I found this sense of belonging in this very unique story that has this like through line with all these other people. Like I almost imagine it like rhizomes or mushroom mycelium network across the globe.
Yeah, I love that.
But what's interesting, what I find fascinating about you and your story is that, you know, your ancestry is from China specifically, but then, you know, growing up in another culture and then growing up in another culture. Have you explored much of like the Chinese, like geographically speaking side of yourself?
I haven't been to China yet. That's definitely on the list.
Yeah. Do you know where your ancestors are from?
Yeah, my dad, when I interviewed my dad, he said that they're from the Fujian province, which is in like the southeastern like coastal area. So that's the reason why a lot of Fujian Chinese people immigrated to the Philippines, was because it was easy for them to sail there. So yeah, it would be cool to go back with my dad and like see if we can find any long lost relatives. And,
totally.
Yeah, just like immerse myself in that side of the culture. There's definitely like growing up, we did practice more so like when I was in the Philippines, we practiced like some different aspects of Chinese culture. Like my grandma, my ama, was like very devoted Buddhist. So they actually had their house, their family house built like beside the Buddhist temple so that she could go pray. And some of like the memories that I have from my time in the Philippines is like going with my dad and my family to the temples and like meeting the monks, and they would always give these little white rabbit candies.
Oh my god, yes! I love white rabbit candies.
Yeah,
and they're like sometimes so hard that you have to like really just hold them in your mouth until they really soften, and then you can start to chew them. Yeah. Otherwise, you're breaking your teeth. At a trip to the dentist.
Yeah. So it's like remembering those things, like just those little cute little memories, like are such happy like core memories for me, because I don't have a lot of memories of that culture and of my time there. Yeah. So like growing up, we would practice, you know, we would celebrate for Chinese New Year's, and my dad taught me some like Buddhist traditions as well for like honoring your ancestors and your family. And so it would be nice to just get more into that and devote more time to it as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is so juicy. I know we're going everywhere, but I'm just like following the flow of the conversation, you know? I am curious about the switch from sugar troll to changeling. How did changeling emerge?
So before changeling, I was just trying to think of like my stage name. I like never had like a full-on stage name, and I was performing and I was like, I don't want to just be, I mean, like I am Chloe, but I want to like have a different stage name that represented me because I'm such a shapeshifter. And then I started reading about Irish folklore and learning about changelings, which are like a type of fae creature in their folklore.
Yeah,
and they're like
fae?
Like they're in the fairy category.
Okay, cool.
But they're like shapeshifters, and like they kind of have a negative connotation with them. Like a lot of the folklore around changeling is that they like steal the place of people.
Oh.
Like they like a changeling could like turn into you and then like get rid of you and pretend to be you.
Got it.
But they're also known as being very like adaptable, and like they're not like malevolent at heart.
Yeah.
Like they kind of just want to like fit in with the humans. And that's how I always kind of felt. Like I want to fit in with the humans, but I always felt kind of outside the realm.
Yeah.
And like identity was like such an interesting topic for me, like growing up multiracial. Like I always felt like I had like different identities and like, you know, code switching for different situations and for different people. And so I always had this kind of like, you know, distorted sense of identity where I felt like I could kind of be whoever I wanted, but like I didn't know who the true person was underneath. So when I started learning about changelings, it resonated with me a lot because they are always shape-shifting into different people or different animals or different things. And with my costuming, I'm always shape-shifting. Like people won't even recognize me when I'm in costume because I'm like totally like just don't look like me at all.
Every time I'm like, what?
So I was like, well, that makes sense that I'm a changeling. And I just like, you know, the sound of it. Like it sounded kind of cool to me.
And we're sticking on brand with a CH.
Yeah, and Changeling Chloe. So,
Chua.
So it just, when I heard about changelings, I was like, oh my God, that's it. So that's what I adopted as my stage name. And then a couple years ago, I just started feeling a bit more disconnected from Sugar Troll because I felt like I was outgrowing it. Like I'm a very young and playful person at heart, but I feel like my art has evolved so much, and like I've grown so much because of it that I didn't feel like Sugar Troll represented me anymore. Like I felt like I needed a changeling. So it was easier for me to just integrate everything under one umbrella. So it's like, this is me. I'm a performer. I'm a costume designer. Like I am changeling, and this is the thing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so good. What are you creating right now or working on right now?
Right now, I am on a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah.
I feel like my work comes in kind of waves. Like this time of the year is really slow for performing, and in general, if I'm not performing a lot, then I'm like not making new costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'll still take on very select few custom commissions from people. But yeah, right now I'm trying to work on creating more like group costumes for like
Group acts.
group acts and performing and stuff like that. I do eventually want to make more of these flower skirts, but with like a different top design. So that would be like, you know, like a duet or like a trio or something. Like that would be really cute. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
I love that. Did you make any of the stuff for soaring stilt dance?
No.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I also love the stuff that they were wearing.
Yeah, they're amazing. I love
Yeah.
Nancy and her whole crew. And yeah, hopefully I can make more stilt costumes for people in the future.
Is there a dream, I guess, thing that you want to design in the future?
I don't know. It all, like right now I'm working on like a big flower costume. So that's like, I haven't actually started yet, but in my brain,
it starts in the brain.
It's formulating. Yeah. And so it's gonna just be like very, like, I'm picturing like kind of midsummer vibes, like, you know, how she has like that huge like flower dress at the
like
end.
Midsummer Night's Dream, or what's the midsummer vibes?
Midsummer is like this really weird horror film.
I'm so off.
It's like, it's about like the midsummer, I think it's like set in Sweden or like one of the Scandinavian countries, and it's about their like midsummer celebration. Yeah. And it's just like really weird. Would recommend it if you want to watch something very weird and creepy. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just working towards spring basically. I'm very influenced by like the seasons. Yeah.
So like in terms of the flower design, what are we thinking?
Just like flowers everywhere. And just like imagine a huge stilt person like covered in flowers, like.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
And are you designing just for something that you're gonna wear, or like are you wanting to design for other people as well?
So right now I'm designing for both myself and other people. So I'm doing the costumes for Viva Entertainment with Lo.
Yes.
And so.
Oh, Lo! Shout outs to Lo.
Yeah. So we're kind of like creating an arsenal of cool costumes for us to offer at different events and stuff. And like my personal projects, I don't really have any on the go right now, but they kind of just come up randomly.
Yeah, much like the artist's life.
Yeah.
We go with the flow, things pop up, and then it gives us that like deadline or that marker, that goalpost that we want to reach with what we want to create.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. Any artists in Vancouver that you feel right now you're super inspired by and you're stoked on that's within our community?
Yeah, so like in terms of circus, I'm really inspired by Nancy and her soaring stilt dance.
Yes.
I think their crew and their dance moves are really amazing. And in terms of like style and like textiles, me and my partner Jessie have been working together to create some really cool things. Yes. And it's really great because I actually taught him how to sew. He's kind of like my protege, but I'm always really inspired by the things he's creating. He's really creating these really cool, like patchwork, everything. Basically, he gets like all my scraps and just like makes really cool things out of it.
I love that. Leave no scrap behind.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And my other partner, Shane, he makes really amazing glass art. I should have worn my chain, but he makes these like really cool glass chains. Should have worn one today, but yeah, so lots of inspiration just in our studio alone. Like there's so many cool artists here, and we're really excited to be in the scene. And in this building alone too, there's like the Haifa Arts as well and the deli. So this whole space is just like filled with creativity, and it's nice to like be a part of it. And Yeah.
I was at a party last weekend actually at Haifa Arts.
Yeah.
And I love that it's like multi-room. Big shout outs to our friend Adrian, who was also on the show. He had hosted like a social tea. And it was great because he was bringing out like 15, 20-year-old tea and doing like traditional like Chinese, but not like, he was calling it more like the social aspect versus like a more formal ceremony.
Yeah.
But like, man, late night, just tea, little bit of caffeine, it kept me going on the dance floor and revived me. But yeah, I'm like really in love with this pocket of Vancity. I feel like I'm always discovering like another, this is like a collective, like a group of different artists that are in this studio space, and like, it's just like endless.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's what I love about the culture crawl too, which so you get to see all the different spaces, like even in just this one block, like there's so many different studios.
Yeah.
I wish there was more like opportunities like that throughout the year where it's like kind of open doors and people can come and see each other's spaces and stuff like that.
Yeah, big shout outs to East Van Culture Crawl. Jamal actually interviewed Esther, who is the executive director.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that was a really cool interview because she really taught us that like actually in this neighborhood, it is like, what is it? The densest of artists per capita in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah, which like, you know.
It definitely feels like it. Like you can feel the creative energy when you're in this area, and just, I love like the Commercial Drive area too. Like it just feels like home to me. I lived there for 5 years, but now I just live not too far away, but it's nice having my studio so close by because it's such a vibrant community.
Yeah, and you can draw inspiration from it, be fed from it, and then come back here and create.
Yeah.
Aw, Chloe, I'm so stoked we got to do this. We're pretty much up on our hour of this live stream. It's been really dope to see all your creations, to talk to you, get to know your story, which I didn't know. It was funny because like with some people that we interview, like sometimes I get a full-on bio and there's a lot I can find out about them on the internet. But I was like telling Jamal on the way here, I'm like, I actually don't know a lot about Chloe, and we're gonna find out. And now I know, and I've been so pleasantly surprised. In lieu of Lunar New Year 2025, Year of the Snake, I'm so curious to, you know, end this interview with you just sharing maybe what is it that you feel you are shedding this year and stepping into and, you know, want to manifest for yourself for 2025, Year of the Snake.
Year of the Snake. So I actually just got a snake like a few months ago.
Like a pet snake?
So I have a new pet snake.
Named?
Snacky McSnack Snake.
Stop! Snacky McSnack Snake. Say that 7 times.
So I've been feeling a lot of that like transformative, like serpent energy just accumulating. And I definitely feel like I've been in the process of shedding a lot of just like negative thought patterns, and I'm kind of like realigning my community and my focus and really diving deep into like my personal values and the like what's important to me and what I want to see in the world.
Oh yeah.
And so like my hope for this year is for more collective liberation and justice for people that have been not treated very well, and I want to harness the energy of the collective to try and build something better, something more artistic, something more inclusive, and equitable, and that is my hope. And free Palestine also.
Oh, love. I appreciate you so much, Chloe. This has been so great. Shout outs to everyone who's tuned in, who's been watching the live stream, who's watching the replay. We appreciate you. My name is Kazi. This is Chloe Chua, AKA Changeling. And you've been watching Vancity Beats, Eats, and MOARRR.